So, shall I start? Shall we start, people? And welcome. Are you here? Are you live? Can I see you in the chat? I'm connecting to you from it's early morning in Stockholm right now. It's cold, it's dark, it's wet. The best conditions to sort of talk to you and stay at home and drink some tea and all that. How are you? Where you from? What's the weather like where you are now? If you paste this in the chat, I will feel a bit better, and perhaps the weather is better, so I won't feel that miserable as I'm here right now. And I wanted today to do more of a dialogue than a talk. I mean, I don't want to show slides, or do I? Let's think about that. So, for example, here is me talking trying to talk to you. Would it be better if I was also showing slides? So probably it would look like this. Here's the slide. Are you missing my face? If you look into the slide, this is just my website newsletter, but that's not important. What's important, are you missing the face? And this is how it normally looks. Let's move me somewhere else. Matchbox size speaker and a slide. Is it better for you like this right now? Like a small speaker and a bit slide, or is it still better? How do you feel? I mean, really. Right now, I will talk about some of the other things in presenting and developer relations and all that, but do you need that text? Is it better like this or like this? That's the question number one. I will get back to it closer to the end of this dialogue, and I'm watching the comments and as I'm speaking, so I still insist this is a dialogue, not a talk. But let's start from this. Remember yourself in spring, or even probably late last year. For us in Europe, these whole lockdowns and other things stay at home, wear a mask, it started only in spring. And as we're in Europe and people in US a bit later on started being in their apartments at home, everything started virtual. And for us, again, probably for you people, wonderful people in Asia, started a bit earlier. For us, it was spring. We were yay, everything is virtual, everything's cool. I can go to this conference in New York or San Francisco or Lisbon, London, the conference that I have always wanted to go to, but could never go because it was so expensive, and now it's virtual. So in spring, we all were yay, conferences, I want to go everywhere. And now, just 6 months later, it's autumn, and we're no, another virtual conference, I just cannot. And there are many reasons for that. And one of that, for example, that in spring, we're oh, we don't need to commute to the office. So why don't we spend that extra time at home with friends, with families mostly. And now it ended up that we wake up, start our work, and then we stop work and go to sleep. So instead of working in the office for 8 hours, we work for the whole day because of the phones, the meeting, the asynchronous nature of remote work. So that's another thing why going to conferences is sort of challenging these days. And so we've been watching talks and we've been communicating with people like that, but is it really like that? Let's get back to me being matchbox sized, right? A second ago, you were sort of, I had mimics. You could look me in the eyes. You could see more of the language, not just the voice, but the whole picture. And when I'm small, like this, matchbox sized, it's much harder for you to understand, to connect with me, to relate with me, right? And where I'm going is that this matchbox-sized people is how we have been mostly talking to people, and this is hard. So, see, I'm back. I'm back to being like big on your screen, and it's much easier to connect to me right now, right? And then if we think also about the formats of the talks, of the presentations, like for example, normally there is a talk, as in a person telling you what to do, or a person sharing his or her experience. And remember, the talks used to be like 40 minutes, right? Sometimes even longer. And right now, like 20 minutes talk is already quite hard to focus on, because I mean, you're in the by your screen and you're trying to work, and then there is like this presentation, and somebody is telling you what to do, and like you try to learn and consider. And if it was a dialogue, like what I'm trying to have with you right now, right? I'm sort of asking you questions. I'm looking into the chat. So I'm actually looking into the chat, and sort of I would reply to like instantly, and it just makes much more sense. It keeps you on the monitor. It keeps you listening to me, because you feel like there is a dialogue. Naturally, there is a dialogue, there is a conversation. So that also has changed. And I think it's gonna evolve, and we will see even more and more different, like more and more evolution of what is expected of the virtual conference and of a speaker, and how would a presentation look like. Right. Also, another thing, did you notice that I haven't introduced myself? And actually it makes sense if you think, I mean, we're virtual, right? So you're by your computer. It's easy for you to see who is next on the schedule, right? What the talk is about. And if you are here right now, probably you either have looked into the schedule and know who is speaking. Maybe you just look into the talk title and were interested about it, or maybe you just don't care, right? So why do I spend your time bringing you the information that you either have or don't hear? So I totally skip introducing myself, for example, on virtual conferences. In real life conferences, it's different, right? You know the mechanics of that. But just think about that. Introducing yourself might be not necessary and just takes extra time. That. Also, I want to throw in right now the key point of the presentation. And the key point is being natural and authentic, and offering empathy and human touch is the key. We live in, like, the whole planet, right, lives in this pandemic, and for most of us it's like either shitty or very shitty or very, 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 very shitty, right? And lots of ambiguity. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know when it's gonna end, and lots of things going on in people's heads. The job security, then civil unrest, and many other things that are on top of people's heads right now. And it makes sense for us as a speakers, like, even though we speak about tech, even though we tell like you how to use the SDK, how to, like, the new community mechanics and something, for us speakers, for us people being on the screen, it makes sense to be as empathetic and as natural and as nice, like, to you, to people on the other side on the screen as possible, in order for our talks, like, in order to make any impact, even if we sort of care only about SDKs. That. Can you relate? Can you relate that you expect the speaker being natural and empathetic? I'm watching the comments. Right. So then let's overall maybe think about live events. Let's maybe think about live events and did you notice how they evolved? Right, from live events being like having exactly the same structure as in real life events. Like in real life events, that's like, imagine Devrel Asia was a real life event. Probably it would have been, okay, 2 days maximum, right? So, and then think about the block hours you would need to spend to attend Devrel Asia in real life, right? You would need to travel, you would need to book a hotel, you would need to get in very early, right? And then leave a few days later. So for a 2-day event, probably you spend a week on that. And then think about the events that are going on right now. For example, I've seen an ad yesterday for AWS Summit. It is going on for 3 weeks. 3-week conference. 3-week conference. I mean, 3 weeks, people, not 3 days. 3 weeks. Can we assume that it's gonna get even longer, like 4 weeks conference, month-long conference, maybe even longer? Why do we even stop having a virtual event? And then again, I'm getting back and back and back to the formats. The talks is what people don't like anymore because they get tired about that. And yeah, conferences are getting longer, talks evolve, and I want also to talk about Zoom anxiety. This is in the title of my talk, but also this is in our lives. Think about our lives. Our lives have been this endless Zoom call with probably with like a lot of matchbook-sized people like me, right? So like one more matchbox and one more matchbox, and then you watch, and then like the screen is full of like small people, and then they drink something, somebody's talking, somebody's like, somebody's just bored, and you watch into the screen. And also, if the person on the screen is larger, like me right now, notice where my eyes are. I'm watching down because this is the screen, and this is the camera. So if I'm talking like this, you feel much better connection, right, with the speaker. But I'm speaking into the camera, I don't see yourself. I don't see myself, I don't see yourself, I don't see the screen. It's very, very hard for me to look into the camera. But I naturally look into the screen, and now my eyes are down, and then it's harder for you to have the eye contact. Then let's think about other things. Let's think about these Zoom calls taking bigger part of our lives right now. Again, natural, that's how remote work works, that's how virtual works. And let's think about challenges. Let's think about challenges that we have. And the perception was one, but then about the technology. Look, this camera of mine is nice, but that's not a laptop camera, and you can guess. And also, I'm doing like lots of fancy things, including like color grading and sharpening and many other things. For example, this is how I look not color graded. Still okay-ish, but this looks much better. And look, now I will switch to integrated webcam, and this is how it normally looks. So if I was to connect to you without any fancy technologies, I would have looked like that. And see, like I'm taking just a small part of the screen because the resolution of this camera, like it's 720p. So that's the resolution of many laptop cameras and many cameras that you use. So compare this to that. Which one do you prefer? And even if I'm just a small matchbox, right? Even if I'm just a small matchbox, it's still let's do it like this. Oops. Here. Two smaller me's. So imagine this is a Zoom meeting. Which one do you prefer? See, it still makes a difference if the camera is nice, right? Right. Another thing is the sound. Many of us still don't have proper microphones. And on all these meetings and even on our presentation, we still use laptop microphones or just headset microphones. Even headset microphones are much better than laptop microphones. What I have been doing here right now for the last probably like this Zoom anxiety part of my talk is I've been showing you how to make people anxious and tired of your talk and of yourself and yeah, and then I mean think about a computer fan like totally on or like noise in the microphone, and I have like for example fancy setup like a bigger microphone and lots of artificial intelligence clearing my sound. Since I mean just as you are, I'm right now in my apartment, and for example like my partner is, I mean she walks around, she wants to get a cup of tea, and obviously she produces noises on this live stream, and I mean it would be rude for me to tell her not to like make a tea for her, right? So we coexist in these closed environments, but I have artificial intelligence trying to clean my sound and focus on my voice. So this is how I make like this more or less Zoom call, right? A bit more immersive, more fun. So, and again, like technology is fixable, right? Technology is fixable. Bad audio is fixable. Creepy cameras, that's also fixable. What is harder to fix is a format. When like how do we look on the screen, and the hosts, the moderators who take care about your experience, right? Right now I'm like the only person speaking. Imagine this was a panel or something, and the moderator also has like to build the bridge between the speaker and or maybe speakers, as in many speakers, and you, the audience, and make it nice and immersive and like to keep you on the screen with the headphones, because like we see it, I see it, you see it, and like it's screen, it's empathy, feelings, emotions. It's harder to fix, and moderator sort of has to help that. And if the moderator is boring, it's much harder. It's yeah, right. Where am I going to? Let's try to make a bit of a conclusion and see if I can answer your questions. I see one question in the chat. If we get more, I will try to answer them all. Look, let's make a small bottom line. This is hard to work with. This is hard to work with. This is also hard to work with. Even if it's on the full screen, but the view is like, right? This is better. I haven't done a demo of a bad sound, but let me spare your ears. You have heard so many bad sounds that you don't need me for that. The conferences are getting longer. The attention span is getting shorter. In the previous session, Sarah brought a beautiful point about bringing Asia together, but then I asked a question about the language, and she replied that translation and technology. So, I mean, technology is getting better, everything is getting better, everything, like the virtual experience is getting better, but we have to change the format. So it's not a creepy Zoom meeting, it's not a matchbox and a bit text. I mean, we're people, we miss people, we want to talk to people. And once again, did you miss slides? Like people in the chat, people watching me, put this in the comments. Have you missed me having like showing slides? I have just done a demo and it makes, I think, more sense than slides, right? So, but the thing again, like, I mean, you are asking a question right now. What do we miss? So instead of I writing the question, what if you were alive with me, as in like as a human being, not a piece of text? Would your experience be more fun? Would other people's experience be more fun? Where I'm going is that the dialogues, the conversations just makes much more sense, and in this virtual format we want to see people, we want to hear people, we want to talk to people. And if we are to show something, as in some technology, how to integrate the SDK, I cannot show you with hands how to integrate the SDK. Well, okay, fine, I can show the screen and show how it's done, how it works. I can be a small matchbox, or I mean, you can just disable me. Imagine me like showing you something on the screen right now. You don't even need my face, right? If you focus on the tags, or if you focus on what's on the screen, right? Like, for example, I'm showing you something, I'm telling you something, I'm explaining you how to integrate some SDK, or like how to do something around. You don't need my face. And then on the important moments, I show up and do the emphasis, for example, right? So there we go. Let me get back to the takeaway. I've just done a demo, maybe a set of demos. I touched about virtual events evolving. I'm touched about Zoom anxiety, and we've been in all this endless Zoom call. And let me repeat my takeaway. I still think that the key to success in all this is being natural and authentic, perhaps vulnerable, and offering empathy and human touch is key to me as a speaker, to you as a speaker, in order to connect to the audience. Thinking about the audience experience, trying to invent new formats that work, that make sense for your community, for your particular case. Think about the cameras and like how do you structure the whole presentation. Don't just stick to matchbox format. Right. All right, so it was a demo, and I asked lots of questions and provided some empathy, and we still have a bit of time. I can go and see the question in the chat right now. There was a big one I couldn't easily answer. Asia is getting back to normal. We can meet someone offline. I figured out that just quick chat is faster than a communication of Zoom. How do you think about redefining the word offline? How do we combine offline and online effectively? Perhaps still takes a time to get back to normal in the Western world. I love this question. Well, first, I love that it's getting back to normal to you. I love that you can go and hug people. You can go and touch people. It's important. I mean, I'm missing touching people. I'm missing hugging people. I mean, I'm missing my friends. I'm missing my colleagues. I'm missing people I don't know, but I could meet at an event like Devrel Asia and and feel empathy. And I mean, many of us in Devrel, are emotionless extroverts, right? This is why we work in Devrel, and this is instead of just being, closet introverty programmers in our headsets. Answering your question, it depends on what we like. It depends on the time frame. I mean, ultimately, if we look like long enough in the future, it's still gonna be back to normal, whatever normal gonna be, right? Probably it's gonna be a new normal, but say like physical in a way. But also think about that. Think about normal in the next year. Like and again, Asia here in the like Asia lives in the future from Europe and from the US probably, right? So it's me who should ask you like, hey, hey people in the future, how am I gonna feel in 6 months? But from the point of where I am, I would like to answer with more of a question, as in, if Devrel Asia was a real life physical event, how many people would you be able to connect to? How many speakers would you be able to attract? And now Devrel Asia is a virtual event, and I'm talking to you from Stockholm. There is probably a person talking to you from New York, from San Francisco, from Bangalore, from Canada, from like all over the world. And then we think like, so okay, what do I care more about? What do I care more about? Do I care more about having like 50 or 100 or 20 people but local? Or do I care about a speaker from another part of the world and taking into their brain? That's one to think about. There is another thing. Think about somebody very clever, very experienced, very important. Probably that person is quite old already and lives maybe in a bit of a remote place, but that person is a great speaker. What are the chances that you can get this person to speak at a physical event physically? And what are the chances of telling this person to connect to you virtually and doing a talk? So getting back to normal is what I personally cannot wait to, but I also understand that real life, meaning being local or local-ish again, it's easy for me to travel from Stockholm to London, to Berlin, to my favorite town, Vilnius in Lithuania, but it would be so hard for me to travel to Tokyo because of money, because of time, right? So probably we will get back to being local-ish again, but I think it will be super hard. I think it will be super hard to get your brain back from thinking globally and like, I can invite my speakers from Japan, from Canada, from the US, from Britain, from Germany, to thinking, okay, I can probably invite speakers only from my area, right? The kinds of events will be just different, and perhaps if we're thinking about real life events, it won't be about talks anymore. So the way that virtual events have evolved, perhaps real life events will also
Sorry,
evolve.
maybe it's time to wrap up your talk.
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm good.
okay.
So goodbye.